A study by Wildlife Reserves Singapore has revealed that 2 in 3 Singaporeans are inclined to be involved in supporting wildlife conservation. Generation Z, or those aged 24 and under, take the lead. Motivations for different age groups vary. Gen Z say they would do more if they had the financial resources. Millennials, meanwhile, are motivated by the impact of their actions. Those above 55 say watching an inspiring wildlife documentary or movie motivates them. On the other hand, those who've never been involved say not having the time and not knowing where to begin are their top reasons. And for a closer look, we're joined by Dr. Cheng Wen Haur, a Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Wildlife Reserves Singapore, to get his take on this. Dr. Cheng, what do you think contributed to the findings, and have trends really changed over the years?
Well, we do live in an information age, and as our survey confirms, many people get their information through media, internet, and from zoos as well. So since our first park started about 50 years ago, we have engaged over millions of people and doing a lot of public outreach, raising public awareness. So we would like to think that, we help to contribute a little bit to that good result. And also, a lot of the news nowadays talks about, the need for conservation and climate change, things like that. And also, that's the movement of the young people trying to take back control for their quality in life in the future as well.
Dr. Cheng, even though more people, they seem to be increasingly involved in wildlife conservation, the top reasons cited among those who don't include not having the time and not knowing where to begin. So, in your opinion, what's lacking on that front?
Well, I think it is important for people to realize that when we talk about conserving wildlife and species, ultimately it actually impacts our quality of life and survival. And people may think that it doesn't have anything to do with them because we live in the city, but we really need the world, the earth, to be functioning, to have functioning ecosystems. And all the functioning ecosystems, all these different species of wildlife to survive, to be functioning, so that we can have things that we take for granted, such as fresh water, fresh air, shielding from diseases, food security, and so on. So from another angle, people may also think that, the enormity of the problem, as an individual, what we can do. So I think these are the things that we can help to say that, we can tell people that there are many, many things as an individual they can do as well. Just for example, make very, very simple choices when people go overseas, when they travel. Perhaps they come to a place where people may be serving them wildlife products, wildlife meat. So they can be saying that, I don't want to take that. I can make a personal choice. And then they can expand their circle of influence, trying to get other people not to do those things as well. So, and there are other things as well. And if people think that it's actually quite simple to contribute to wildlife contribution, things that when people come to our parks, they are helping us to save wildlife. So they are contributing to wildlife conservation as well. And for those who have the inclination, have a bit more time to want to contribute more, they can volunteer with many of our voluntary programs.
Dr. Cheng, in today's digital age, it's perhaps no surprise that many learn about wildlife through digital means. Do you think that's enough, though? And how is WRS going to incorporate the findings from the study to cater to varying interests across the different age groups?
Right. I think with the advent of internet, it is really good in a way that we have democratization of knowledge and information. Nowadays, there is really no excuse for people to say that people can go on the line and just basically find out a lot of good quality information. So we try to capitalize on that as well. We try to put out a lot of our information, a lot of engagement through our social media to engage people widely. And there is a bit of a downside, though, when people go onto the internet to look for information. They need to really be very careful. And sometimes, we hear a lot about fake news. And also, quite often, there are also instances of how people are not interacting with wildlife correctly. So those are the downfall. But when it comes to just getting information to do the right thing, while it is important, it's nowhere near enough. People quite often, in order for people to want to do something to change their behavior, for example, to be more wildlife friendly, they really, really need to be experience something through an emotional point of view. So that's what we're trying to provide. When we have visitors coming to our parks, we try to engage them with wildlife experiences so that they will be able to have that connection at an emotional level, so that when they go back, hopefully, they will inform them to make better lifestyle decision as well. Just with information alone, it is not enough. So with this survey result, what we are going to do is that based on the different age group, what makes them more likely to make different decisions, we will be pitching our messages slightly differently to cater to those different group of people, to make our messagings more targeted.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Indeed, you're never too old to be involved in supporting wildlife conservation. We've been speaking with Dr. Cheng Wen Haur, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Wildlife Reserves Singapore.